We are live.
With the artists behind Harmony for Earth. And today
We're going to be talking to
Dylan Lane.
the conscious rap artist behind Talk Talk. Forests are disappearing and party on the moon. So how have you been, Dylan? This is the first time we're meeting, right?
This is like the first time we're ever actually having a conversation like in person. We
We were just talking about this in-person thing. So tell us, what have you been up to lately?
Oh, everything's been going really well. I did take a step back from social media, but I have just been working more at my just normal job, which is driving Lyft. So just increasing driving Lyft, but then also been doing a lot of travel centered around like my spiritual practices and like the spiritual work that I'm like engaged in. So like a lot of traveling related to that, going to Florida, going to South Carolina, down to different retreat centers, particularly related to Kriya Yoga and Baba.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's been a lot because we've been traveling for various events and activities to the Baba Center and to Homestead, Florida. But also we've been going to the mountains too to meet with all the different people that we've met through these organizations. So now we have all these different things that are going on where we're traveling up to the mountains all the time, traveling to Florida, traveling to South Carolina.
That is so cool. So what is this form of yoga all about? Like,
so this yoga is Kriya Yoga. So it's basically under the umbrella of what is Babaji's Kriya Yoga.
okay.
So if you see this picture here above my shoulder,
Yes.
that's Babaji. So Babaji teaches Kriya Yoga. Most people know it through Paramahamsa Yogananda and the Autobiography of a Yogi. So the Kriya that he talks about in that book is Babaji's Kriya Yoga.
That is nice. Okay.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So you guys have a retreat or something?
Yeah, so in the United States, there's multiple ashrams, but then there's centers in all the different cities. So every week we have like a guided meditation, and then throughout the year, there's different regional and seasonal events like related to birthdays and celebrations and things like that. So we're continuously able to tap in with that. And that's been the primary focus of my life currently, with the underlying like being work and then my creative practice and my relationship with my wife.
Whoa, that sounds like a lot of good stuff. And it goes so well with who you are and what you sing about. Honestly.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I see how you get your inspiration. Actually, tell us, when did you start writing conscious rap, and why did you start writing conscious rap? Like,
okay. So this is awesome that you're finally somebody is asking me this question, because I have a cool story about it. And
let's go.
So I have this book, it has the Giving Lane, which is a business that I started, and then Conscious-ish, which was like my first name that I was going to perform under. And this is like this book that I've been writing with since 2018. And I didn't start until 2018 because I was always more like financial and personal development based. So I wasn't as creative. And so I was on like a very personal development, growth oriented thing. And then that kind of like was this business, the Giving Lane, which was based on, I did private work with families, with people with special needs. And I was trying to connect nonprofits that provide the services for those people with the small businesses that serve those people. And I was trying to build this giant business / nonprofit thing to help people with special needs. And like, that was where my initial thing started. And then actually, so my wife and I got married in Asheville, but we were up in Asheville, North Carolina, just with some friends partying, like having a good time. Like they were celebrating something. We were going up there to celebrate with them. And while we were out that night, my wife and I met this woman And then like later we ended up having a relationship with her, like where we got to know her, and she was like extremely creative.
Right. Okay.
And she drew and painted these pictures that were so vivid that when we met her and then we hung out with her and were able to see her art, like literally an explosion happened inside me. And then I started writing like the next day. And I wrote a song, and I'm not going to do the song or anything, but
okay. No,
I marked it out.
You could do it if you want,
I could. Yeah. This was the first song that I ever wrote. I'm not going to do it here just because of the content of it. But what I'm saying is I have it written. This was the first song that I ever wrote. It was on October 20th, 2018. It's called Her. It's about that woman that my wife and I met. And, but I have this, and I have hundreds of songs in here. And then
that is so cool.
That's how this all started. So I was on this big business nonprofit to help people with special needs. Like, I'm going to be the biggest, most successful person at this.
Philanthropist ever. Yeah.
And then boom, this creative thing erupts in me, and it's just like, it was like, how can I start to produce these beautiful works of art like this woman showed us? But mine wasn't through that medium. It was through writing and through speaking. So then I started writing, and then like I have like, from that time period, I have like dozens of songs that I wrote in like the first like several weeks of October, November 2018.
Wow, you were like on an inspiration streak.
Yes. And it was right at this time that I was starting to see that the personal development, self-development, financial development wasn't going to be fulfilling enough.
Yeah.
And then this explosion of creativity erupted in me, and it was like it's ebbed and flowed.
Yeah.
Since then,
spiritual energy is like your creativity breaking loose, a form of expression, I guess.
Exactly, and I wasn't doing that. I was being very, very masculine, very pragmatic, very orderly, financial, because I was trying to. Like, more background on me is like I had a somewhat chaotic like upbringing, and like I came from like a kind of like you can kind of do whatever you want, not a lot of discipline, kind of apathetic background and perspective. So like I was kind of getting myself together like with this order and this I'm going to be a successful business person, and I'm going to have a great thing, and I'm going to help society. And then I needed that stepping stone, but I needed something that was going to fulfill me more deeper, because I had already had the transformative spiritual experiences that were gonna that is what I was chasing to understand what had happened there. And it had taken the shape of personal development and self-development, and then eventually it needed to become more spiritual and creative. And then that was the turning point, was when kind of meeting somebody face to face that had already made art out of their inspiration. Right. And my wife has always done that, but it was we had to see it from, I had to see it from somebody else.
A third person.
Exactly. So that's kind of like the long and short of it. And then I started writing in this book, and I haven't stopped writing since. And it's
you're 100 songs in. Oh,
yeah, I have this. I've probably written like 200 or 250 different like concepts and riffs and stuff. But now it's starting, I've really honed in on my process. Right. And I've really, have put a few songs out, the 3 with you, and then 3 other singles that I've put out, has really gave me like some breathing room to really focus on the process and get better at conveying these concepts that come down through the inspiration because of the spiritual practices.
Okay. Honestly, I've worked on 2 of the songs personally as a co-producer and a producer. And for Party on the Moon, I mean, AV took care of that. But the other 2, Forests Are Disappearing and Talk Talk, the lyrics that you put down, the rap that you wrote for those songs are like so profound. And like you found the right ways to say it. And they're really tough things to say. And I don't know. It's you. And I remember when I first discovered your music and I heard something called Cigarettes. Remember the one?
Oh yeah, Dear
Cigarettes.
Cigarette.
Dear Cigarette. Oh, I was thinking you made me believe that you convinced me in 4 minutes that, not 4 minutes, it was about 3 minutes or something, that this is really not worth my time.
Oh, okay. See, that's
Dude,
good.
you
See,
did
that's
that.
good.
And that's how I knew that this conscious rap thing, I didn't even know conscious rap existed, firstly. And then I was like, hey, this is a genre in itself. And then I listened to the rest of the songs. You had a bunch of reels on your page, and there was so many deep stuff in there. And I was like, okay, I would love to have you on a track. And then you wrote Talk. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And yeah, see, that was one of the things that I got to do with this, is because I have to use my phone. I have everything in my phone. So I actually got to write, because now my process is not handwritten. It's all on the phone. So everything's on the phone, and I'm using the phone for Zoom. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to write all these into the book so I can reference them during the Zoom call.
Yeah.
And when I wrote them out, I was like, like if you just read it and you just read it, I'm like, oh my God, no wonder this is like okay. It just really like is.
Give us 4 lines, just any
I can
4
hear
lines.
her crying.
Oh,
Dear mother, let me wipe your eyes.
You're
Hear her
pleading.
pleading. Dear mother, let me stop the lies. It's like,
oh my God.
because I truly feel like this was part of what happened to me in 2021. So 3 years into about 3 years into the creative process is like, that's when I got connected to the autobiography of a yogi. And then that's when I really started to feel like I connected with the masters of Kriya Yoga. And I started writing these songs again from like a different place, like where I was being inspired. It wasn't me thinking about a concept or an idea and writing. I was like being inspired by the energy of just like the divine energy coming through these masters. And that's when I really felt like I almost could become a channel, where when the energy and the inspiration moves, it's like I immediately obey and start writing through my process.
Yeah.
So then it's like I'm never writing anymore. I used to write for like the first 3 years. Exactly. Exactly. And it always has been like that, but now I'm more conscious of it to be like, and I obey. So when the inspiration comes, I start the process. I stop everything, and I get the information out so that I can come back to it and edit it.
Wow, that is so cool. I mean, considering that you write really spiritual stuff that, it's really strong stuff, and you feel so connected to something higher than this. That's great. I'm really nice. It's really nice to hear that this is where it's coming from. Didn't see it this way, but totally feels divine. Yeah, go on.
Well, even these lines that I just read to specifically pick those 4 lines about the divine mother and her tears, I contributed to them. Like, I know through my spiritual practices and through reflection and self-study how I've impacted the divine mother in a negative way, in the embodiment of women or Mother Nature or just trash and use of overuse of resources. Like, so then it's like, upon that reflection, I can write those words.
Yeah.
And it's like, why can I hear her crying? It's like, cause I can hear myself, like the internal feminine in me being like overpowered by the masculine in me. Even with that too rigid, ordered, structured thing that I was talking about earlier with like trying to build a business and not being creative, but trying to expand that's that masculine energy taking over the feminine. And it's like, I can hear my own feminine being like, release me. Like, that's what happened with the experience that I had with when we met the artist up in Asheville with my wife and my friends. It was like the feminine finally exploded. Yeah,
because it's creativity, it's a very feminine energy.
Exactly. And it was like playing dormant.
Yeah. You got to activate these feelings and emotions.
And I
Yeah.
had,
Yeah.
well, please go on. Sorry, I talk a lot.
No, you were saying that you kind of felt you were made conscious of how humans behave, and you felt like you connected with the earth, who is very feminine, the
Yep.
giver of all things, and kindness and compassionate. And I think you tapped into the same frequency,
Mm-hmm.
the frequency of the planet, and then you kind of wrote that little spell. Your conscious rap is like your spelling.
Yeah.
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 Okay, wait, I have another question though.
Please ask.
We talked about talk. Let's talk about forests are disappearing.
Yeah, I would like to talk about
Yeah.
that. I've thought about that a decent amount because I've actually gone back and forth on my how I feel about the people and beings that I address specifically in this song. And a lot of it has to do with, it's really just like that first introduction part, in God We Trust, cut it down for some paper, vice grip the goddess, choke the creator. It'll be different on Mars. Salvation is always later. Faust has returned. Wisdom burned up with the nature. This is like very like a yogic parable for like the intellect and like the Faustian intellect that the wisdom burned up with the nature is like wisdom is like the embodiment of knowledge, and like nature is the embodiment of wisdom. So then if our intellect, the Faustian intellect that's extremely intelligent and a great decision maker and is like this Buddhi intellect part of the mind, it needs to submit to wisdom. And when it doesn't, it has the potential to choke the creator, to vice grip the goddess, to take a tree and turn it into paper and think you've done something useful.
Right.
Wisdom wouldn't do that.
Audacity.
Yes. So then to think that you could go somewhere away, Mars, namely, in the parable, so to speak, or just the criticism, the social criticism of that idea.
A planet B.
It's like it's a fundamental, it's like the answers you seek, you're destroying continuously. Thinking that the answer's out there. It's like fundamentally it shows the ignorance and hubris and arrogance of the ego when guided by intellect and not submitting to a higher thing. Because it also, somebody that would like to go to Mars to save us has fundamentally misapprehended reality, because the answer is never away. And that's what the spiritual practice teaches you. It's always in and it's always right in front of you. So if what's right in front of you, you seek to destroy to figure out the truth, then you've already obeyed the first law of truth. So then which is that we're all one.
Yeah.
So then if you start to divide it and cut it and rip it to look for a solution to find the one, you're in a continuous state of flux, seeking, destroying. You're also discovering, but you're only discovering a very limited part.
And you're destroying the solution and the truth. You're breaking the truth into tiny little pieces and saying there's no truth left in this.
Exactly. And that's what we continuously do.
Reductionist approach. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And when we do that, we forget that everything that we compartmentalize in those reduction is us fragmented. We fragment ourselves, and then we
lose the point of everything.
Yep. And when we do that on a bigger scale, like instead of like when we take something like a forest and we figure out how we reduce it to something that's going to serve our idea of truth, and it's like we take something that processes carbon dioxide and floods the universe with oxygen, and we think that we're going to create
make toilet paper,
an environmental solution by taking away the optimum balancer, harmonizer of the environment, which would be the trees in relation to humans.
Yeah,
Like,
and they're like ancient. I know they're gone in a couple of seconds.
This is, you know, the prophecies of a lot of different groups are that it will not go to the end and destroy itself, because God and Mother Nature are too benevolent, merciful, compassionate, and forgiving, and they're going to let us make our mistakes, but we are going to rectify them. And I do believe that, and I think that's part of the message of these songs, is taking the personal, I'm a contributor to this. This will get rectified. Who says it's going to get rectified? It's like the Rastas say it, the Kriya Yogis say it, everybody says it. Like, and I just pulled two, but like specifically from music, you pull the message of Bob Marley, and then the message of
John Lennon and Jimi
scriptures, the scriptural singing of the East, and you're literally getting that.
Yeah.
This Babylonian system isn't gonna survive Mother Nature's patience.
I think the only ones who are going to pay are probably us and every species that's alive. And then it's just going to come back, reset, and the planet's going to start anew without us. And that's it.
Yeah. And I think we're going to rise to the occasion, and enough of us are going to feel what me and you feel and know through experience too, the unity and the harmony that underlies all this. We have to experience it directly, because we wouldn't act the way we did if we knew that we were all whole by experience.
Yeah, like, it's astonishing that a lot of people are still alien to this concept of consciousness and oneness, and these truths don't mean much to them.
Yeah.
But I think more people are being open to the idea now. I mean, since more of us are talking about it and more of us are writing songs about it now.
Yes.
Yeah. I hope in a couple of years things will be clearer for everyone.
Well, and I think as more large scale lies are uncovered and more people they're going to have to be forced to realize what they believed in wasn't true. And then they're going to have to believe in something else.
Exactly.
And the best thing to believe in is love, truth, the fact that we're all connected, and that the problems that we're now getting to witness collectively instead of behind closed doors and only in the destruction. So we're seeing the destruction, but we don't get to see the closed door stuff that's making it happen. As the closed door stuff comes to the front, we're all going to be like, wait, we can't buy that product anymore. We can't go to that store anymore. We can't honor those people anymore, because their perspectives and their actions have created this. But we've contributed by believing what they were selling us. And then that's where the
There's
big
a little loop that needs breaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's going to break through music, because I believe this, and with this retraction that I've done from social media, more focus on writing is like, and writing and performing and practicing my songs before they start to come into formulation in the material reality, is that I have to make sure that they get in energetic harmony with the message that these songs are going to bring down Babylon with love, not with force.
Love. Yeah.
And that's the message of Rasta music, which has really been helping me, because I was listening exclusively to a lot of instrumental music for like multiple years. Mm-hmm. And when I reintroduced music, it was like conscious rap and reggae. And the message of the spiritual giants in reggae is that this music is going to be the thing that is a major contributor to this chanting down of the Babylonian system, the system that's doing the oppressing of the nature, the wisdom of nature.
Yeah,
and
I have to agree.
We're going to be a part of that, even no matter. This is the message that I have gotten from Babaji specifically, is humble obscurity, which is to not be afraid to work where nobody can see your work, but making sure that while you're working, you're perfecting your work, so that when it slowly comes out into a more social environment, it's going to be infused with the energy of this humble obscurity, but also this divine sanctification of I'm getting the inspiration through my spiritual practices. I'm making sure that the message of the spiritual masters is coming through the songs. And if it doesn't, then it just won't make the cut on what can come into the material world.
Okay.
So like
because a lot of wisdom already exists. Good amount of wisdom is well written and it's all available, and it kind of bring that together. Yeah. You're doing the study before you write the stuff, basically.
And the experience, so it's not theoretical.
Yeah,
so like,
exactly. You lived it before you sang about it. Or you're living it while you sing about it. And
another thing with the writing in this creative process is I've written so many things into existence. So things that weren't true in songs. So I wrote songs in 2018, 2019, 2020. The things that I was writing about, I wasn't consciously experiencing.
Right.
Now I am.
Because the music worked on you. Like your own music worked on you.
Exactly. So, and like there's songs like that I want to put out. Because I'll tell you, I have like 7 full albums of 12 songs each that I could make to the same quality of the Death of Dylan song. Like I could make it to the same quality, but they're not.
I really like that one, by the way. Very jazzy and
in different ways. Like there's going to be some traditional rap, there's going to be some jazz, there's going to be some spiritual influences, there's going to be some rock and rhythm and all reggae influences.
Nice.
But there's going to be all kinds of different influences, but it has to be their will, because I'm already resigned to the fact that what I've done is enough.
Hold on a sec.
I
remember Dylan telling me one time, I have not, when I asked you about forests are disappearing and you were giving me an update, you said to me, I haven't been asked to, or something like that. I was like, who is telling you to do this? I didn't understand that, but now I'm getting it. You kind of wait for a signal to kind of flow before you write your stuff.
Yes. Like we had 12 episodes of a podcast recorded, and to be objectively honest, it was really good. It's really good. The video is still there. It's already recorded. It's just what Haley, my wife, and I talked about. We were kind of like maybe celebrating things that we shouldn't be celebrating. And maybe while we were celebrating lifestyles and behaviors that we had indulged in, we were bringing in the spiritual thing, and they weren't meant to be crossed over for money. Because we were going to be pushing everything out onto Patreon and social media, and we were going to be asking people for money, and we would have won. We would have won the game. We would have got thousands of people to come and give a few dollars. But it's not something that you could monetize. It's too divine, according to you. Well, it's not even that. It's just, it has to be sanctified. It has to be. So like I have in my lineage, for example, like I have a living master, his name is, Paramahamsa Prajnanananda. And like, if like, for example, if I was going to start like an organization, like if he never authorized me to start an organization, then I can't start an organization.
Oh, that you feel really connected.
Yeah. Well, and similarly with the music is if it will serve. So like my prayer is that like, if anything that I do will serve like the highest benefit of like what God wants, the masters want, what would serve me and what would serve like every single person that will come into contact with me. So like if anybody is to come in contact with me, like my prayer is that it only benefits their journey to self-realization. It can't benefit any other path. Monetary, creative,
I like that.
Relationships, business. If this music is going to make people go towards self-realization, then it will come out. It will not stop coming out, and it will come out in abundance. And if it was going to serve more than more than 51%
Our call's gonna cut.
Oh,
Yeah. We're gonna come back and you're gonna tell
on
me
the
this.
selfishness point.
Yeah,
On the selfishness point.
I love this. This is great.
Well, thank you. This is the stuff that we love to talk about.
Wait, I'm gonna come back and I'm calling you back, and then we do that again. The latte. Okay. Cool. See you in a bit. Bye. Here we are. Okay.
So then,
Yeah.
okay. So this
Tell us,
is
Dylan. Yeah.
the point was like, if there was more than 50% selfishness involved in my creative process, I didn't want it to go out and become a part of the society, because I knew through collaboration that I would be infecting the community with selfishness. And I knew my selfishness because I had already done through Kriya Yoga, especially my own self-study on myself. So like studying myself and seeing what were my true motives? What were my true intentions? How was I interfacing with everything, not just creativity, everything. Like, and that's what self-study is literally
Trying to
analyzing
scrutinize yourself and figure out what are you all about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I started to find through when I started the musical process was that there was still a lot of selfishness in why I was doing this. And
that so honest of you to admit. Yeah.
And it all had to do with like, so understanding Kriya Yoga and understanding the chakras and understanding how energy and karma is, like I had blockages like in the second chakra with like lust and family relationships, and I had blockages in the third chakra with food and fame and power and beauty. Then I had blockages in the fourth chakra with like having desires in the heart that were centered in the lower chakras. Right. So wanting more money, wanting more beauty and power and fame, and then also wanting to use that to gain better relationships and more opportunities to indulge in things. And it's like through that study, and then I knew that also by seeing who I had polarized within my creative environment and what they did and how they roll. And I was like, oh, so I roll like this. And I'm like, this isn't God's message.
I think you needed the depth, and you needed to prove to yourself that you're worthy of it. And
exactly.
That's freaking noble.
I surrendered
that's
things.
Great.
So this is actually really important, is that I started surrendering things to like God and the masters, where I'm like, I will give this up. And then I did it. I proved it by doing it. Yeah. And then what happened was certain things will be given back to you.
Yeah.
If you're supposed to have it. And then if you're not supposed to have it, you'll be happy you gave it up.
Yeah, that is nice.
So I had an experience in May where I had a very profound spiritual experience where I felt pressure in all of the areas of life.
Okay.
But in a very spiritual way, where it was like, I had to surrender having control over any of those areas by simply saying that I would do anything necessary in any of those areas that basically God or my master need me to do, no matter what it is. So then like after the experience, it was like certain things were cleared out of my life. And then like things that remained, I knew I had to work with them and pursue them. So this continuous process of surrendering everything up allows whatever is keepable you'll
to thrive. Yeah.
And and I don't want to get too crazy, but like I'm very influenced by the Eastern scriptures and the Western scriptures. So like the biblical verse of Matthew 6:33, where seeking first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then all of these will be added unto you. I know from my own experience that practice of Kriya Yoga will seek you first the kingdom. I know that because of the experiences that I have. And then I also know that if I keep surrendering things and seeking, that everything that's needed will be given to me. And then whatever isn't needed
will leave.
And then if it's somewhere in the middle, I'll have to I'll maybe have to experience things that should leave by acting them out and then seeing that they're not good. So it's like all three of those will then be manifest. It's like I'll get everything that I need guaranteed. everything that really needs to leave will automatically be removed. And everything that's right in the middle, I'll be able to work with and see it for what it is, whether it's good or bad, and how it affects me and others. Yeah. And this is what guides my whole creative process, is that like, I'm trying to make sure I live up to the standards, not my standards. And like, I fall short automatically because I'm not the, but I offer everything up to thee so that then I can just do my best and see what happens.
You are speaking in a way that's a good mix, or the meeting of the East and the West.
Yes, that's Baba G's message.
Yeah, like is that it?
Yeah,
I'm not familiar. Sorry.
He actually had Sri Yukteswar, who you can see now up in this corner. He actually had him write a book. You probably won't be able to see it, but that's him up there. Anyway.
Okay.
He had him write a book called The Holy Science. And The Holy Science is a comparative study of the Eastern and Western scriptures. So Baba G had Sri Yukteswar write that book, and it's the fundamental harmonizing of East and West by showing that their scriptures are saying the exact same thing. So that was his message. And his other one of his many messages, humble obscurity, service, humility, and then, just to make sure that, there was something that I was going to say and it just vanished. So maybe you don't want me to say it. I don't know. I thought it was good. I thought it had to do with the harmonizing of the East and the West, but yeah. Oh, unity and diversity. I don't know if I said it. I think I might have.
No, you didn't say it.
Unity and diversity. Acknowledge the fundamental. It's exactly what we talked about at the beginning. When we do a reductionist, then we compartmentalize. It's like every compartment is part of the whole. It's all one. And when we can actually see everything in the specific, then we start to harmonize automatically.
Yeah.
Because how could I be at disharmony with something I know is going to be impacted by me? If I have a negative attitude, I know everybody around me does. If I have a negative outlook on life, I know everybody around me does. By having done the self-study on when I'm feeling, Lyft is a great mirror for me, because that's primarily where I do my creating, because I listen to all my instrumentals when I'm driving people. And the people that get in the car really mirror to me where I'm at.
Right.
Really mirror. So if I drive 10 or 15 people in a day, I'm getting a wave of mirrors.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And I'm getting inspired to write too, because of how I serve the community. And the whole time I'm practicing my Kriyas to the best that I can, which is to maintain certain mental postures and physical postures throughout my interactions with people, so that I have more harmonious and divine interactions with people.
Wow, you're living so wholesomely. I think that's the right way to put it. It's really nice it's really refreshing to meet someone who's doing this, Dylan. That's really cool.
And then at the same time, like this is all, and I will attest, everything that I'm talking about is like the most beautiful process that I could ever imagine. And yet every single challenge is still at the front. Like, because that's just how it continues to go on like that. It never stops. Never stops.
I mean, life is a bunch of challenges.
Yeah.
It's just the best part about it. And it's going to be bloody boring if it's not. If it's not like this. Yeah.
And then the better we get at going up and down and around the bends and experience.
Yeah, we learn a lot of skills, and if we get better at life, and then we get further. Yeah, I think you really are the person behind all the songs, the songs you write, the words you write. I was just listening to your song Death of Dylan before you came on live, and I was like, these lyrics are profound. And then, I mean, it's so hard to admit the death of the ego like that, and you just accepted it, and a lot of people are afraid to do that, and they care too much about their comfort without knowing that putting yourself in difficulty is the point of life.
Yeah.
So it's
And the
really
thing
cool. Yeah.
The thing with death too, and especially the death of the ego, is that it's so much different than death of the body. Like we can die to a lot of perspectives, and we die to our other selves all the time. So like we died to like I'm 33, so I died to like my mid-20s self, my teenage self, my pubescent self, my kid self.
Yeah, the layers.
Self.
Yeah.
So that's a physical evidence that deaths are inevitable, and you don't have to change this body to have deaths. And then perspective deaths, like for me, it's like my first 25 years of my life, I was a fundamentalist, atheist, militant atheist.
Me too.
Yeah. And I meant it, and I was earnest, and I really meant it, and I lived it.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, and that's completely dead. It doesn't exist. So then I didn't die. This body didn't die. But what died, just the embodiment of a set of values.
Yeah.
And that's the continuous death, is the embodiment. And this goes back to wisdom over knowledge. The Faustian, like we talked about with Forests Are Disappearing, he has immense intellect and knowledge. He doesn't embody it. So there's no wisdom. There's none of this. I'm embodying what my ideals are. Like there is, because they are embodying their ideals, but it's like as the ideal gets more unified, we don't
have to admit it. We don't have to put a name on it. We don't have to identify it. You just live it, and it's just a part of you.
Yes. And I feel like when we have to let some of those, to kind of keep it on like the songs for nature and harmony for earth, is like they have to die to thinking that they know the answer. The answer is the embodiment of what you know, which is we have to know that this is one by experiencing it. And that's what's so important. I think about like the Kriya, for example, is like through a set of scientific and systematic processes, you can experience your own soul in the unified state directly. So then at that point, you know for your own self that like, if I cut the tree down, I'm hurting myself. That's like the only thing they're missing.
We're the same thing.
Yeah. And they're gonna, through those deaths, the deaths are gonna occur. They're gonna occur when we, through the embodiment of our not so good ideals, our ignorance ideals, we create destruction. And then through the destruction and the suffering, we understand that we're the solution because we created that.
Exactly.
Like what you just said, which is to be on, like to understand, like to admit it, to be honest with yourself, like that. Oh, I was wrong.
And I was blinded. I was blindfolded. I was misled.
Yes. Please forgive me. I didn't realize how my militant atheism was impacting me, my family, and everybody else. That was mine. That was one of mine. One of the many. It was like, I could see how it did it because
the disconnection.
Like when I, did some things that were like very nihilistic, like take overabundance of psychedelics because I knew it didn't matter and I could do whatever I want. And even if I died, it was just black and it was the end. It was like, then I saw how that decision fundamentally changed my life. And then I experienced the unitive state. So then I knew that we were all connected, but then it was like
nicely put.
But then it was like, but then at the same time, I still had to come out of it and figure out what happened. And then that's when humility and like, I don't know, please tell me. But then that's when I also saw how my ideas about life were affecting everybody around me negatively. And then it was like, negative in the sense that like I scared everybody.
I think the word that you should look at is conditioning. And I think this word is like super dangerous, honestly. Like the more we the more we are told from day one what everything is, The more we've globally accepted what everything is, and we don't get to experience it entirely by ourselves and with curiosity and like authenticity. I guess that's what leads us astray really quick. And then we're like all into political stuff and agendas, and we don't want to look like this. And okay, I want to have friends with everyone, and then la la la. And then I'm atheist. Okay, it's gonna be easier to just say everything doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, being politically correct has become like the reason why most people deny any kind of spiritual connection. But come on, if animals are using magnetism to fly north and south, I think we're using magnetism in a way, and we just don't know. We don't really need only GPS to know where to go.
Yeah. I was listening to some reggae, and they're like, we're in tune with nature, so we're gonna survive the storm. So like when Babylon falls, we're gonna be out of the way, because we know how the things move. We know how the curve works. We know how the cycles work. Like, I don't mean to keep harping on the reggae music, but it's just like, it's literally telling us what's going to happen. And
I think and this brings us to our next question. What's coming up for you in the music sphere?
Okay.
Like, is it reggae?
Part of what delayed music creation was that the producer I was working with, he got really sick. And he's doing better now. So, okay. And that's really good to hear, because I was really nervous about that. But partially because we're moving, and partially because we're because of the other things that I mentioned, like all the kind of the spiritual pilgrimaging.
Pilgrimaging, okay.
Like that kind of, my process hasn't stopped, but the creative output has been delayed. But I will say I met a gentleman at the Maribaba Center in South Carolina that I was talking about, and he lives up near where we're moving, and he's just very tapped in with the music scene, in particular, like all the way out into like big like Hollywood type scale stuff. But he was the artist in residence when I stayed at the Maribaba Center, and he performed 3 nights in a row, spiritual songs and also just like entertainment songs. And he's somebody that I'm going to reach out to start. Hopefully what I would do is start making the songs that I've been working on most recently, because they're the most inspired by like Baba G and the Masters and things like that. And I want to make them hopefully with him. I'm not going to say his name. He's like a well-known guy, but I hope that I'm able to get connected to him. And because when he sang songs about Maribaba, it like literally moved me to tears. Like, and this is a guy that like he's worked in like large scale films, and just he's very talented, and he loves Maribaba. And people that love whoever their spiritual master is, they interacting with them, they're held accountable by something so large and so loving that they tend to be the kinds of people. And that's kind of what I've been not waiting for, but I've seen that by the grace of my surrender, that the right people are getting moved in. Yeah. And then the plan is to now work backwards, which is I have like 90 songs that I would like to make over the course of many albums. But I think that if I start with these, because I have 4 songs that are like all about Baba G. Okay. And one about Maribaba, and then others that are just very spiritual in nature. And I think if I work backwards and don't make the earlier songs that are more thought written and more experiential about my times as a kind of a vagrant, that maybe that I can just make a big splash very quickly with more songs that can, very similar like what you have with the Dear Cigarette song, can just fundamentally change your whole view towards something. And with the songs that are more spiritual, it's like, I think the emotion that can come through with working with somebody like who I was describing earlier, and then also because of how his music has already moved me. And then the nature of the songs that I'm writing, I think it fits more into the Harmony for Earth and Songs for Nature theme anyway, because it is more about the divine and less about me. Because a lot of the songs that were on my social media were about me. They were about my experience and all this.
It was something that you realized most of the time. Yeah.
And it's autobiographical.
Yeah, that was what it was.
This is who I am. This is what's going on now. Right now, with how fast things have moved spiritually, is like, this is like, my wife and I are fundamentally like different people than we were like 18 months ago. Like experientially, but also perspective wise. Just like understanding how things are, experiencing things differently.
Yeah.
And so to make this short, long answer longer, my plan is to keep with the process that is allowing more songs to be written. And then once I get moved in March, is to reach out to the gentleman that we've already connected about this and about making songs together, see what's going on with him. And if I don't work with him, I know that he has the resources and connections to get me to who I need to get my message out and to work with people that can really make it sound how I want it to sound, but also like improve it and make it sound better than what I could conceptualize, because I don't understand how to do that.
I get it. You're looking for the producer, right?
And I'm also looking to have like a 30-minute set that's more spiritual and that is able to be like an opening set for somebody that maybe is like a well-known conscious rapper, or like maybe somebody that's more spiritual rock or spiritual rhythm and blues.
Spiritual rock is interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's part of what we're doing too, because I have a lot of electric guitar and a lot of stuff like that, like different drum things that we're planning on doing. But just, I'm trying to develop myself fully in humble obscurity, where when the right opportunity presents itself, I will be so
ready.
I'm already overly prepared. Like if somebody, if one person could play like acoustic guitar for me, like, and I just showed up at a place, like people would be like, what the f-? Like, honestly, they would be like, what the f-? Because I know how my practice sounds. I know the changes that
I've heard your live sets. They're really good.
And then also like even Locals Only, the song, my most recent song, I think that's been put out.
Locals Only, right?
Yeah, it's on all platforms. It's very much inspired by Baba G, and it's not overt where I'm talking straight about it. It's like, it's just, in this song, when I was recording, I could feel the presence of what I'm looking for, like in my Kriya practice, like when I'm looking for certain spiritual perceptions of like sounds and lights and vibrations. It's like they're very palpable when I was delivering that song. And when people, because I'm not promoting anything, when people hear that song for the first time, they're like, what? Because it's a really powerful song. Like, and it's also really rap.
Yeah, it's really rap and it's really hip hop. Yeah.
Rap.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's the kind of thing I want to make sure that there's like not everything's going to be for everybody, but the people that things are for, I really fundamentally, my only desire is that it changes their entire life about like, knowing that the scriptural concepts are real and experienceable, and you're supposed to have those experiences, and you can have them through music from people that are experiencing them directly, that are telling you that they're real.
The artist.
Like, I'm like, hey, look, that bliss ocean of eternity is there, and you can experience it. You should.
Yeah, it's all in you.
And that's what I felt like with the creative process, is like why everything's getting delayed and why my process is getting perfected more than my outward manifestations, is because I know once the right environment, like the way that we have my house set up right now, once there's recording equipment in that same space, like there's gonna be like so much so fast.
Yeah.
that it's like, because now if I didn't have 6 songs out because of you and because of my other producers, then that would be different. I would be more anxious.
Yeah.
But I already passed through that stage of having anxiety about the creations, because there's some creations that have my stamp of approval. I approve of them.
Yeah,
All
you really
6 of
gotta
them-
like it.
Yeah,
I
all
get it.
6 of them I wish were different in some way, but I don't. But how they are is exactly how they needed to be etched into history.
The thing about art is knowing when to stop. Okay, like that was the first advice of the production classes that I took. It's like when to stop with a piece of music. I mean, like, it's already art just because you put your voice on it or you put your instrument on it and you wrote something on it, you know? So I just think you shouldn't overthink it or whatever.
Yeah.
It's in the moment of, I mean, the Dylan that you are today and the Dylan you are the day you write that song, that is the art
Yep.
behind that song. And, you know, I told you this before, I'm going to tell you again, I can't wait for you to just throw all your songs out there because it needs to be out there. You have a way of saying things and it's really, it's really good.
Some of the things that are written that nobody has ever heard,
Yeah.
they would be very, it's just real. There's some really cool writing that has happened because of them. I'll this is another thing is like, I have to make sure that the first thing that's out there, this isn't the first thing that will be on the internet of me being interviewed, but the first thing related to this specific creative process is that I want everybody to know that I have absolutely no say in what has been written, because everything is coming from everything for everybody, not just creativity, is coming from a higher source. But
I firmly agree.
Yeah, to acknowledge that, especially inspiration and creativity is coming from the causal or the thought world, being pulled through the energetic and astral world and into the gross world. Like, and just to acknowledge that which we are is that, and this gross body is also that, but we as gross bodies are being blessed,
a form of expression
with inspiration and
with
creativity.
Inspiration, exactly.
All of us.
Yeah.
And all we have to do is open our channel, and every single person has a different way of
tapping
taking
into that. Yeah.
into the gross world.
Yeah. I really like the way you said that. Like, each of us have this kind of a frequency that I think we can tap into the different message and a different kind of, like, the things that we surround ourselves with, the things that inspire us, they're not the same thing, but they're all important and they all have a bunch of wisdom.
Yes.
And everyone should give it a shot. And, you know, especially if you really, if you've got words, if you're getting words, you know, you should like let it out. Like, I think you shouldn't miss a chance of not writing it down or.
Well, So speaking of that, you should, if you have anything, I'm not saying I'll do it, but to write to. So things that you're working on.
Yeah.
But to send it so that I can, if I have something to write, maybe then I can record it again like we've already done. But if you have
I will just make you something, and we can do one more whenever you feel like it. I have nothing else to say. That's what he said to me once. I haven't been given I don't remember what you said, but I was tripping on that for days. You know, he said that and I was like, what does he mean by this?
Yeah, I have to. Wait, well, which one was it? Was it the?
It was forests are disappearing, and I think I was nagging you a bit much because I was really annoyed.
It was going to be the interview. I was responding to the interview questions.
No, it wasn't that. It was for forests are disappearing. I remember. And you gave me Party on the Moon and Forests are Disappearing at the same time because you felt inspired and you wrote them in one shot. You don't even remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Yeah, you can always keep me in mind. The only thing is like things move really slow
I know.
in
And
the
I think it's okay.
materialization, in the conceptually, and like the underlying work that needs to be done, like the writing and stuff. I do very quickly. It's just I don't want to.
I know what you mean. You need to kind of embody the message. You don't feel authentic enough to
Yes.
sing it, and I totally get it. And I'm glad that we had this chat, and that I know this is the story behind it, because those words are too profound for you not to mean it. And
Yeah, exactly.
if you're gonna record that and it's gonna be out there influencing people, you have to mean it.
Exactly. And the thing is, this gave me an opportunity to realize how much my wife and I together have changed and grown in our perspectives, and how it really our whole change in perspective has really been about harmonizing the earth and getting back to nature. And that's been her whole message with why she wants to make this move. We're selling our house. We're not going to have a house. We're not going to be tied to the house. We're not going to be tied to student loans. We're not going to be tied to car payments. And I think that's part of the message too. How do we do this? Is like, we have to start
dematerializing.
Yes. Continue, and finalize our dematerialization, no matter how small it starts, and no matter how long it takes. Because this is I don't know what everybody's going to believe that ends up hearing this, but it's like, we incarnate across multiple lifetimes, and like, we are the ones that create the problem and figure out that we're creating a problem and preserve the problem, and then finally recognize, destroy, and change the problem. We are the ones that always do it in these big macro level things, like social stuff. Like, what this message of these songs is like, this process is like, we're at the point of recognition. We're still fighting against preservation of it, because we're still not even into the point where we're
still in denial. Like, half of us are in denial, and half of us are so egoistic that we want to put our comforts before everything else. And I think that's problem number one. It's not helping that there's a whole industry of people pushing this agenda on people either.
Yeah.
I guess that's why we're doing what we're doing. And we are coming towards the end of our call. So I want to know if there's anything else you want to tell our viewers, and if you've got like any other piece of advice or whatever you want to say, like, about Harmony for Earth and what you're doing here, why are you making conscious rap, anything at all. Like,
I want people to know, or I would like people to know, or maybe not I.
Dylan and his death of the ego.
the message of the ascended masters and God in the scriptures is real. It's meant to be lived and experienced now. A master like Babaji and his Kriya Yoga can have you directly experience reality that's real, like the actual experience of the unified consciousness, not just through Kriya Yoga. There's a million ways. There's infinite number of ways. I just would like to say that this practice and this master, it is the embodiment of the scriptures, East and West, and it gives you direct experience of what those scriptures are pointing to. And that is the most important thing. And I said this to many people, the only way that my message of music will spread is if it benefits people in directly experiencing reality in the self, their own true self. And the only way I want my message, my particularized musical creative message, to ever expand into the social experience is if it is truthfully going to help people realize, whether it's through Kriya Yoga or the love of Babaji or through any of the various infinite paths to the reality, I just want people to know that that reality is there and it's within themselves and they can experience it here and now. And actually, fundamentally, we have to experience it now as human in the waking state to actually ever escape from the cycle of births and deaths. And we have to experience it now. And the message of various masters, all of them are correct. Every path done with sincerity is correct. It doesn't matter which one. Every single individual knows reality directly and is connected to it. And every single path is equally valid and worthy. Each individual consciousness is a valid path to reality and to God. And we must undertake that journey from right where we're at now. And that's all I care about people understanding. I did have very selfish motives when I began creating, but that was like the gray area in the Venn diagram. I work without social media because I want people to know that I'm really working to experience reality. And as I continue to experience reality, I hope that that will be reflected in the message of the music. And if people are meant to experience reality through my music, then my music will be everywhere for everybody to experience reality. And if my music wasn't going to make people experience reality or the love of these masters in the deep states of meditation and consciousness that exists within all of us, it won't go anywhere. It will die right before it ever materializes. But it will have I know for a fact that it has already been heard by the highest of the high. And I know that my spiritual practice, the highest form of my spiritual practice is music. And I didn't know that until I had the direct experience of it when I was shown that all the other things that I've been doing, Kriya Yoga, breathing exercises, all these different yogas, scriptural study, personal development, I was shown that the highest prayer I had ever offered was the music, because it was the only thing that I didn't think I had to do. It was the thing that I just did because I loved it. And that was what actually opened the door for these masters to come into my life, was when I expressed my love through song. It was
sincerity.
Exactly. It was earnest enough, truthful enough, and loving enough to actually reach to that point so that a channel could be opened up. And whatever I just said in the last 3 to 5 minutes that I just rambled on about, I don't know exactly what it was, but whatever it was trying to convey, that right there, if I'm ever off that message in public, then people will know that I've fallen off the path. If I'm on that message in public about music, then people will know that I'm being guided. And then I'll finish this by saying, and this is from many masters have said this and many students, if I do anything good or useful or helpful to anybody, it is the grace of Babaji and the masters of Kriya Yoga and all the saints and sages of all religions through all times and all spaces. If I do anything harmful or useless or lustful or prideful or with anger or greed in my heart, then that's me. That's me. That's where you know Dylan the ego's living. And so then all the glory goes to God and the master